So coming off of a massive performance in Europe on Thursday night against Spurs, we entered into the League Cup final. Most Rangers fans, I would imagine, going into the game would have expected to come out as losers, basically.
Aye.
But I wouldn't have expected that it would have been as close as it ended up. What were your thoughts on that mad game that we just witnessed?
Well, coming off the back of the Spurs game, we said to each other, see if we go up against Celtic with the intensity and the energy like we did against Spurs, then we're going to give them a run. We're going to compete and compete well.
Aye.
And I think that's what we got. It's my thoughts, like, going into that, first 20 minutes was, this is the kind of intensity, this is the kind of pressing, this is the kind of game I wanted to see in an Old Firm. We've been screaming it for a long time. Again, like, when you come up against Celtic in any game, home, away, in a cup game, you need to go toe to toe with them. You need to match their energy, you need to match their pace, you need to match everything about them to give yourself a chance. And it's something that I think tactically we've got it wrong in previous Old Firms, many previous Old Firms under a number of different managers, but I think this time we got it right. And it's the first time where I've watched a game this season and thought to myself, we might be on to something here. Clement might be on to something here. Like, and it only took for him to, realise that Cyril Dessers, for a start, like, cannot be in your first 11. Like, he cannot be in that selection, because I do think at times he kills the momentum dead for quite early on. And obviously Igmani's come on to a game, thought he's played pretty decent as well. And all see for the front three in general, having Danilo supporting as well, I think that we've got something to cling on to, like, going forward, definitely into the next Old Firm. But in terms of the game, I mean, I can't really fault, the overall, tactical or energy or mentality, because we've seen it all in that game. Even times where, we found ourselves down, like, behind by one goal. Usually in previous games we'd start to see a team that goes back into their shell, but, to come back, twice?
Can I just say, I think, look, we've been majorly critical of this Rangers team for the start of the season.
Yep.
Been majorly critical of this manager for the start of the season, but I'm not sure any other Rangers manager has been able to stifle Callum McGregor as effectively in an Old Firm game as what I've just witnessed at the weekend. Look, we lose the game, we lose it with one penalty. Do you know what I mean? It's a penalty, it's the toss of a coin. The game is level through it.
Yep.
I would say they had their chances, they looked dangerous at spells. We had our chances, looked dangerous at spells. But what I would say is we probably asserted more of the way, the style and the approach towards the game. I would say we were more successful in that front. We done what we wanted to do and attempted to impose ourselves in the game, create the sort of game that we wanted to play. But going back to that point on, like, everything flows through Callum McGregor in that Celtic team.
Yep.
And we've seen it time and time again where we come up against them, we try and sit one person on them, we try and sit 2, 3 people on them. Is that good for them, that you can end up taking 3 players at your team, completely removing them, simply focusing on him, not doing it effectively, and it leaves other big gaps? But we didn't. Clement really handled that well, and obviously, look, he's come up against them a couple of times previously, still no beat them, obviously, so it's something he needs to rectify in the 2nd of January. But I thought how he handled that threat, and not just that threat, obviously there's multiple other threats in the Celtic team, but that threat is the first one I want to focus on in particular, because we nullified Callum McGregor, and it didn't really cause us any other major weaknesses throughout the team.
Aye.
Do you know?
I think it all comes down to that being more like paying too much respect to either, like, the team in general, or paying too much respect to Callum McGregor in general. And that, I think that's a massive fault in previous Old Firms as well, is paying, too much respect to the threat that Celtic have, and it's caused us to have that kind of, you know, cautious mentality going into Old Firms, you know, put more of a focus on being sure of our passes, or put more of a focus on let's just no concede now. But again, like as you were saying, like if every single player goes onto that pitch, they know their job. We know who's on McGregor, we know who's on Maeda, we know everybody in that team knows their job, and their duty during that game is to impose their role in the game.
Yeah.
Then, you know, we go toe to toe with them. I think that it reflected that in the game, to be honest, because it's the first Old Firm in a long time where I've genuinely felt like buzzing like through the whole game. And it's the first game where we've went a goal down and I've thought, we're coming back, we're getting a goal, we're going to bring it back. I thought, I mean, if you're sitting here for a neutral perspective, it was a phenomenal cup final, a phenomenal Old Firm. And listen,
even like, as both sets of fans, I'm pretty sure, you know, can step back and look and say it was an incredible game, an incredible spectacle, and it's the sort of game that you want for an Old Firm game.
100%.
You don't want it to be a snooze fest. Yep. You don't want it to be a bore fest. Ultimately, as a representation of Scottish football in general, I mean, you've got Rangers going toe to toe with Tottenham, should have beat them, and then honestly, I'm hearing people say, and I would have said it myself as well, that Rangers are a million miles away from Celtic. Well, no, on Sunday they weren't they?
No,
they absolutely were not a million miles away. Now, it's different when you extend that out to over the course of a season.
That's where they're kind of
on the given day, Rangers versus Celtic, we were right there next to Celtic. Don't be fooled to believe otherwise. Obviously, you look at the league table and we are deservedly where we should be, having dropped so many points and so many, you know, games out with the Old Firm games, and with the Old Firm game included, obviously, earlier in the season. But we appear to be making strides forward, and look, we've already done a season of this channel, right? Yeah. We try not to get carried away.
No.
And I said even after the Spurs game, we are not getting carried away on this. No. Sunday will be again another reflection of how this team is beginning to progress. Well, but ultimately, if you're going to dish out criticism, deservedly so, over the last couple of months, pointed towards Clement, pointed towards Tavernier, pointed towards the whole squad. Well, you go to give them credit where credit's due when they're earning it.
100%.
So
because
I would say that's what we're attempting to do here.
See, at the end of the day, right, when you have a string of poor results, not only poor results, but what got us...
abysmal performances.
Exactly. It was poor performances, and we've said before we started this channel, we just want to see a performance. And listen, we've not had that at the start of the season, hence why I think that the criticism for both us and the fan base is justified. And I also think even after the Spurs game and the Celtic game gave Rangers fans maybe a wee bit of maybe starting to kind of suss this out now, like, but at the
especially
end of the
under
day,
the amount of pressure he was under as well.
100%.
He's no approaching these games with a clean slate. He knew don't kid yourself, he knew that if he got destroyed after Tottenham and beat comfortably or beat a total for Celtic in the 90 minutes, maybe even over the 120,
he'd have been gone.
His job, you know, was on the line.
100%. And listen, I'm not going to sit here and, because a lot of folk go, well, no, you Clement in, a Clement out. Listen, Clement's always got a lot to prove, regardless of what manager at any stage of the season. You've always got something to prove at Rangers. It's the kind of club, you know, both Old Firm sides is the same. Like, it's the kind of club where, you know, a lot of the time you're only as good as your last result, and second means absolutely nothing. So the only, if Clement comes out, goes up to gets maximum points up until the Old Firm and shows a good performance beat Celtic, and then we start to see consistently energetic and strong performances going forward for there, then you can't help but say that Clement's kind of turned a corner. But if we come at the back of this and it's this kind of hype train for this period of time, and we come at the back of it and we start to see the performances lapse again, then obviously Clement's job's got to be on the line again. Like,
well,
that's
again,
the
this
nature of it.
this is the main thing that I think torments Rangers fans. It's because we can go for these absolutely lacklustre performances that we've seen previously in the season. Games that ultimately, in one way or another, should be reasonably comfortable, and then you play an absolute, put in an absolute amazing shift against Tottenham, should come out victorious, and then you go toe to toe with Celtic, who we were saying a fortnight ago, a week ago, were a million miles away from us. This is what's hard for Rangers fans to wrap their head around. But ultimately, look, it's down to the players, it's down to the application. I do think we're severely lacking in our depth, our squad depth. So we need to go strengthen again when the window opens, because that's what's going to kill you over. Like Clement's always saying, the season, the league is a marathon, it's not a sprint. Well, when you can fire out your best 11 players for a cup final, that is a sprint. Fine, we done it. But how can we keep up that intensity in terms of the way we went after Tottenham, pressed them high, every player, gave their all. You do it again in the Sunday. It's not possible to do that every 3 days
with a neat squad.
When you lack depth in squad, and ultimately we do. I mean, obviously you get into the point where you're bringing on, like I say, Kieran Dowell, you're bringing on Ridvan, who I don't think had the best of times when he was on the park again, but looked great in the Tottenham game. But we really need a good few players to strengthen if we're going to have any chance of going the distance over the entirety of a season.
Definitely. I think even if we boil it down to like individual player performances during that game, I think all goals were took really well. Diamande on the half turn with a goal as well. Obviously there was, as well as goals, there was huge chances, a couple, but one in particular chance that for me was just bordering unacceptable in terms of decision making.
No bordering unacceptable.
It is
unacceptable. It crossed right over the line of unacceptableness.
It's the kind of, it was 4v1 situation on the counter as well, and
it's a great counter as well.
100%.
I mean, I'm pretty sure Czerny makes the original interception, drives forward direct like we were doing. It's how we got the first goal. Diamande jumps, makes that, like, triggers that initial press. But Jerami reads it, so look, they've clearly worked on that. They know that Diamande triggers that press. The Celtic player plays it square across. Bajrami runs on it, intercepts it. Bussagut slips it into Igmane, who honestly I think should probably score in first place. He doesn't, but luckily enough, keeper palms it out and Bajrami slots it away. But like we were talking about, just that directness with players like Czerny and Bajrami makes such a massive difference.
100%, because if you look at how we countered in any other game at the start of the season, again, the first thought was always either negative or it was, right, let's be sure on possession. And I think the day, like, we saw players sprinting at 100% on that counter attack, which is something we very rarely seen this
and
season.
Having reinforcements as well. You're talking a fucking 4v1 there, mate.
Well, 100%.
That is poor. I mean, they probably won't even need, how they go back, they analyse the games and that. I mean, obviously they'll probably look at that, right? But you wouldn't even need to look at that. No. You know how much a monumental fucking disaster of a decision that is.
Every single player knew instantly as soon as that attacking play broke down how shite that actually was. And, but
that's probably, you're talking about expected goals in that, man. That's got to be like a 90% probability of ending up a goal. You could run that 100 times, 90 of the times you score, because he's got a man free on his right, more or less. And look, I mean, credit to Carter Vickers, right? Because we choose the wrong option, but it's still a hard one for him,
Oh,
right? But we've seen him
exactly.
do it many times against us. Fucking one man against four. For him to come out and win that, you've got to be good at making defensive decisions well, and he does it. We give him it ultimately, right? But he does it. But mate, slip it inside. You've got two men free, bearing down in the centre of the goal.
Aye, it's almost certainly a goal.
It's madness.
Aye.
Even when it goes to, I think, Bajrami on the right, just chip it over the tap inside the Carter. You know he's going to slide. The last ditch attempt.
But the thing is, it's been a common theme this season as well. They kind of split-second decisions that have kind of, you know, broken down certain phases of attacking play. Christ, I mean, Dessers did they get a lot of game time, but he was the king of it. You know what I mean? But we can't only blame him for it, because throughout the season there's been certain times where
that's when you probably want it. Dessers there though, isn't it? Because he probably chops back and sends Carter Vickers for a hot dog, man.
I'm pretty sure he had a chance.
Expects him to do it.
Pretty sure he had a chance at the end of the game as well. Was it a 1v1 situation on? Was it? I'm not. Cards on the table, right? I was pissed watching this game in real time, right? I was on holiday. Was that the Spurs game?
I think you're talking about the Spurs game.
Even just in terms of the incident itself, it's like it's times like situations like during the Spurs game, or times like that situation during the Old Firm. There, when Rangers fans go absolutely mental at certain players, they're the big chances that can ultimately kill
massive. It's absolutely massive. Don't get me wrong, I'll tell you this, man, there'll be no one more infuriated, raging and taking it out on the players than Philippe Clement. Because I can tell you that for sure. Like, the way Clement wants to play with that, you know, being direct, you know, getting into that's how you end up in the 4v1s. You have a decent high press made at the right time, you break. As soon as you turn over that ball, you just got your front four just bearing down on goal. That's exactly what he wants. It's just that last decision that kills you. Well, here's another one as well, right? We went long ball consistently throughout that game. That was our main tactic and strategy. And normally I would hate it, right? But I was like, this is working, because you just go long, Celtic player headers it down, and we've got
a swarm there, like four players running about the area of the ball. Well, that's how it worked.
And it worked. It did work.
That's the one criticism I've got to Clement, because for the start of the season we always said, like, we don't know how he's wanting to play because the long balls, it's
well, it doesn't work against a St Mirren who's sitting at their own, you know.
But that's the thing, like, if the one criticism I've got is it's took this long for Clement to get that to work. Yeah. Because we knew he said it for ages, got to get the ball forward as quick as humanly possible, if they long balls are included. But the thing is about against St Mirren in a low block as well, like, it might not work as well, but see if you've got players there that are going to bust a gut to go for that transition for defence to attack,
pick up the second balls
right up their arse, like, and try and pick up the second balls for the when the ball lands in the kind of the opposition's, you know, defensive third, or
like no man's land, basically.
You can get yourself up really quickly. Is it the most attractive football? Like, sometimes depends on the opponent you're coming up against. During a low block, it'll be probably a shite game for 8% of the game, but again, it makes it a lot more like an on the edge of your seat performance. If you've got the folk that with engine on them to be able to pick up the second balls.
The original long ball is no attractive, right? But it's what comes in the aftermath of the long ball, because we know it's difficult to play out against Celtic, because they've done it with us a few times, you know, in recent past, where they've sat off us, let us have the ball, let us knock it about the back. It doesn't go anywhere. Ultimately, we end up getting lackadaisical, making one bad pass, and that's them. Talk about a quick press. I mean, their front three are fucking rapid. They're going to pounce on, you know, any mistake that the Rangers and I'll be honest with you, I honestly wouldn't want to play it out for the back with Proper there, because I don't think he looks comfortable on the ball at all. Balogun is a different story. Again, still no ideal, but when you compare, you know, Proper's playing it for the back compared to suitors. It's just night and day, I think.
If I was club owner, I was coming into that team and seeing in previous seasons certain players that were still there, how they played out for the back and the mistakes that we made last season in previous games. I wouldn't be wanting to be playing it out for the back as often. Like, of course, like, and I think you get
do it when it's on, but see if
do it
it's
when it's
not
on.
on, like just go along. There's nothing wrong with it. Plus, you go along, you end up in the final third, and then you can play your football.
100%.
To be honest, you know, unless you're Barcelona, Man City, Real Madrid, it's not always. I mean, they'll play it out for the back at any point of time. They just are not allowed to kick it long. Whereas I'm not too fussed. I'd rather be playing my football, especially in a cup final against Celtic in their final third.
We've not got the quality to be able to, and I don't think any team in the Scottish League's got the quality to be able to play it out the back consistently, regardless of the
they were trying
competition
to
of
force
the opponent.
it, and it went wrong for them on a few occasions. Even that's what leads to the first goal, the Bajrami goal.
And it comes down to the fact that, like, that's what makes a good old firm good, is that, you know, usually when you're playing a game, tactics is a massive part of it, but when you come to Old Firm Day, like, it's significantly smaller part of the game during the big Old Firm ties, because a lot of it comes from mentality, and it's historically an aggressive game. You go toe to toe each other. You pick. Each player,
and we had that for a
battle,
change. We absolutely had that for a
100%.
change. We had it against Tottenham. We had it on Sunday there, so we know the team's got it. We know the players have got it in them. And you know, I said after the Spurs game, they just proved to me something that I'd been doubting that they had, and that was that fight, that intensity, that they looked like they wanted to win. They wanted to be winners. I doubted that for this Rangers team for a long time, but now I think they've got it in them. And, you know, being held back to watch Celtic lift that trophy on Sunday should give them the utmost motivation to never want to leave a cup final against Celtic with that taste in their mouth again. That's got to be, you know, you got to remember that feeling the next time you play. When you play against them in the 2nd of January in the league, you got to remember that feeling. When you play against them in the next cup final, Scottish Cup final, if it's an Old Firm Scottish Cup final, you got to remember that feeling, man. You don't want to be, especially in the way we lost it, the manner we lost it. It's never nice to lose it like that. I could have honestly said, you know, just play for another half an hour, try and figure this out, rather than going to penalty kicks, because that's a different bag of nerves altogether. And at the end of the day, you know, it's part luck, part skill, part nerve, but it's never a great way to settle the game. But talking about penalties, massive incident, obviously, in the game where Rangers are ultimately denied what is, you know, by the letter of the law, a stonewall penalty.
Aye, the penalty. Well, you start a grab and it continues into the box, and standing on the line clashes in the box. I don't see why. I mean, I don't know what happened. We'll need to watch the VAR review show to figure out what was going on in that VAR room. But with ex-referees coming out on Twitter accounts, with also Bobby Madden, Scottish football referee, coming out saying it's 100% a penalty. So I don't really know. I'd just like to see the club, and I know a new CEO has pushed a bit more, but historically the past couple of years, like, we've not seen enough of a push for the club to, you know, gain explanations for these situations, because at the end of the day, like, you're talking about, like, how many I can, you know, remember 2 or 3 in, you know, recent Old Firms where I've thought these kind of decisions have decided the game, and they've kind of went against us.
And that's it. And look, see, at the end of the day, it might not have decided the game. We don't know, but see if there's no VAR team there and that happens, I'm not even bringing it up. It doesn't matter a fuck, because watching it on the telly, you're like, free kick or I mean, it could be a penalty, but you're like, the ref's never going to see that. I mean, let's be honest. Maisty Cherny's outside the box. Might be a bit of his shirt and his foot's fucking on the line, but it's not that I'm talking about. It's the fact that you've not just got a referee, you have not just one, not just 2, but 3
squad
VAR officials watching that. What are they doing? Are they sitting with their finger up their hole? Are they blindfolded? Are they Celtic fans? No. I mean, it's total incompetence. They must have overlooked it. Like, we should see what's happened here. We will see, because they've been doing this VR review show.
Previous incidents, right? You see
that is a bad one.
You see some of the incidents that they take absolutely ages reviewing,
and this one they don't look twice.
And
clearly.
This one's just, that's that.
Bizarre
it was
well.
So close to the line. Like, I mean, it was on the line, but in real time, you're like, oh, that was close to the line.
And I was listening to Phone In last night, and actually they were saying it's nothing to do with the foot. It's not about where the foot. It's something to do with if the shirt is inside the. This is where it gets down to all the fucking the letter of the law and the rule book and stuff like that, right? Which I couldn't give two fucks about. But I'm more thinking, you've got 3 people sitting in that VR room, and you still can't get this sort of decision right.
Yep.
It's criminal, mate. It's unacceptable. And like I say, it might have we could have missed it, we could have scored it, we could have still lost the game. But it's the fact that they've not just got one guy watching, they've got 3 people when they can't come. They've actually got more than 3 people. They've got 3 people like sitting there and another fucking 5 down the road in another van doing something else, getting them all sorts of angles. Unbelievable.
Aye.
Because all you need to do is have a look at it. Have a look at it, and if you know...
Take a minute.
If you know the rules of the game, you see that it's a clear penalty.
Aye.
And again, if this is a run-of-the-mill, maybe a league game where we're already winning 2-3-0, it doesn't matter, but it's a cup final. It's, the game is finely balanced. It could be the difference between us having won and lost the game. And do I think we were more deserving of winning the game overall? Hard to say.
It is hard to say.
It's
always a question I stumble in, to be honest.
Balanced game, to be honest.
Aye, definitely, and especially in a game where, again, when you look at recent games, we've always been kind of, in terms of performance, we've been steamrolled.
Aye.
And it was a pleasant surprise. It was like a breath of fresh air watching that Old Firm and seeing, again, as you said, realising that the players have got, at least showed us that that mentality is there. The issue then comes for us when, can we do it against Motherwell? Can we do it against Ross County now? Can we do it against St Johnstone now?
And against Celtic in the 2nd of January. Because see, at the end of the day, this is performance is paramount, right? But we've got to win. We've got to find a way to win at the end of the day, because we need fight, we need heart, we need performances. But it kind of shows you the state that our club's in, where I feel better for drawing against Spurs and putting a good performance in against Celtic than I have about some of our result, some of the games that we've won, because the performance was so abysmal. But performance obviously is crucial, but we also need to back that up with a win ultimately.
But the thing is, if you turn around and say, would you rather shitehouse a 1-0 win in that cup final, or would you rather go toe to toe 3 each and get beaten penalties? You're taking the shithouse 1-0 win. You know what I mean?
And that's how it's a tough argument, because obviously performance doesn't always equal
performance
result,
helps you in the marathon.
Aye.
It doesn't necessally. That's
I
why
think it is the main
games
thing though,
so...
because it directly correlates with winning games. So that's why I always treat it as like the number one thing. And it's why I suppose that we've had a bit of life breathed back into us over these last 2 games. Although, like I say, we've not won any of them. So it's a tricky one, but look, Clement's been under, and the players have been under an immense amount of pressure. And for one time in recent history, they've no absolutely crumbled under it. Aye. So, like I say, you got to try and find the positive somehow.
It's baby steps forward, you know what I mean? Because we could easily have just wrote this season off and that was that, and go, the manager's shite, the squad's shite, club's shite, everything's shite.
Well,
and just
we were doing that 2 weeks ago.
All the players are I can't wait to get away, you know what I mean? But listen, it's been an interesting couple of previous games for like a fan standpoint, and it's for me, it's like I feel like in an awkward position because
It's a total mindfuck watching Rangers, being a Rangers fan. You don't know fucking where you stand for week to week, to be honest.
I'm sitting here like, right, I am like, you get your hopes up slightly. You're like, we've got a good run of performance. Like, we could put together a good few performances here when we need to. And at the same time, that demon in your brain, that baldy demon, is saying, I could just wait to be playing Motherwell, we'll be back to the same old shit.
I know, that's why I'm not even classing mine as like any sort of hope. I'm just sort of looking and saying what I see. We've simply played better over the last couple of games. We've played better. It's not just that we've played better, we've seen something for this side that has been lacking, that I didn't think they were capable of. Now I know that they're capable of it, and now I know the sort of level that they can reach in terms of the pressing, intensity, goal scoring, stepping up to the occasion. Well, now that's the level they'll be held to by Rangers fans.
Aye.
So they've showed that they're capable of it. So now they'll be held to that level and judged against
that's
it.
where the pressure of being at Rangers comes, because, I mean, if you're going to bump the level up, you're bumping the standard up. Like, every single time you set the bar higher, you need to be able to live up to that new bar you've set yourself, and the players need to know that. Like, if they're going to play at a club like Rangers, you're going to need to try and reach new highs every time you set out in that football park. And let's be honest, that's what the best players and managers in the world set out today on a week to week basis, is how can we create a new high. We want to play better, we want to look better, we want to, be more clinical. We want to, everything's like, we want more, and that's the most successful clubs become the most successful. But we can't allow them to come out the back of this and have some sort of hangover, or allow any sort of inconsistency creep back in performance or mentality, because at the end of the day, as much as you can be a hero as a player, as much as you can be a hero against the likes of Celtic, against the likes of Tottenham, against the kind of high caliber teams, you can also be just as big a hero against the weird teams in the league. It's, for me, you've got to constantly want that. Now, I've never played professionally like that, but it's common sense would tell you always want to create new highs, you always want to push yourself a wee bit further. And I hope this is a platform, these past two games, it is a platform for us to go, right, well, whatever's happened. This is the platform that we use to have a successful season.
Aye, and I must say, I'm nervously anticipating, half nerves, half excitement, for this game on the 2nd of January, because after watching that, you're like, we have it in us to win, especially at home. But I don't think I'll ever be shiting myself. Because even as I say that, the now I'm thinking, oh no.
No, I know.
So again, the ball's in your court, players, manager, make the right decisions, show up with that intensity, that desire, man, because we need to build a team of winners at the end of the day. And he's talking about these new players, young players and stuff like that. Now's the time to absolutely saturate them with that mentality. You're here at this club to win leagues, cups, and to go as far as possible in Europe. So exciting times ahead. We've a lot to make up in the league. We're standing in good stead in Europe. Obviously, we fall at the final hurdle for this first silverware of the season, but like you say, hopefully this is a platform that we can build off of, but we'll not jump to any conclusions. It's simply on to the next game and see what happens.
Definitely. So what we want you to do is we want you to jump into the comments and let us know what you thought about the game. Let us know what you thought about our opinions in the game. Remember, we've got a link to our socials in the description below. If you've enjoyed the video, then leave a like or subscribe, even better, and we'll see you next time.